Hey guys, this video shows how to set up Jenkins on Fedora 25. Here, you will also see some issues that I faced during the setup and how to solve them. So let's begin. We will start by configuring Jenkins repository on Linux. Please follow along the screen for now. This is expected to change over time. Basically, you are required to identify the set of commands to configure Jenkins repository on your Linux. Just copy the provided set of commands and execute them from terminal. Note that you will need sudo access to run these commands. Once these commands are executed, you are all set to install Jenkins. When we install Jenkins, it creates a user called Jenkins on our Linux. This will be used for access management. At the time of this installation, I noticed that Jenkins service did not start, and this was due to some messed up symbolic links. I am fixing this issue by running the following commands, basically recreating the missing links to jtidy.jar and minacore.jar. This is not required if you don't face this issue. Once these links are established, we can start Jenkins service. As I am using local Git repository, I need to make sure that Jenkins user has access to this repository. I will use usermod to grant access by adding user to Git users user group. Now we can configure Jenkins from our browser. The first step is to configure Jenkins system itself. That is, we will try to integrate Jenkins to our underlying technologies like Java and Maven. Jenkins also provides facility to configure SMTP servers and SSH servers from this system configuration screen. For now, we will configure JDK and Maven. Note that it also provides an option to install JDK automatically. Since I have my Java installed on my system, I'll just copy the path from my .bashrc file into Jenkins configuration. Note that when we provide a path or a value for the predefined variables, it is immediately validated. If there is an error, then the screen shows the error as soon as you move out of that input. I'll follow the same steps to configure Maven. The next step is to configure our plugins. The first step, what I want to do here is to update the existing plugins. If we scroll down in that section, we have a select all. I'll use that to update all the plugins. Jenkins works basically using plugins. It executes the configured tasks based on the plugins. So plugins hold the main integration to the underlying technologies or the technologies what we want to use. The first step or the first integration what I want to do here is to configure Jenkins to connect to Git. For this I will use Git plugin. If you already have Git plugin available bundled with your Jenkins installation, you can skip this step. Now we can create new jobs. We see that there is no support for Maven from here. We can fix this by installing a Maven integration plugin. This will allow Jenkins to identify Maven specific projects. Basically, it identifies POM and executes the goal defined in it. After this installation, if we create a new job, we will see that there is a support for Maven specific project. We'll create a Maven specific project and configure two important things. The first thing would be Git repository or the location of our project. As Jenkins user already has access to Git, we don't need to configure credentials at this point. The second step is to tell Jenkins when to execute this job. That is done using build triggers. There are different types of triggers available. We'll start with the simple build periodically trigger. This will execute this job based on the time interval that is configured. In this case, I have mentioned 5 stars or asterisks, which denotes that this time interval is 1 minute, meaning that Jenkins has to execute this job every minute. Now if we go back, it will take us back to project landing page or job landing page. Here we have a build history section which will list out the executing tasks. We can go directly into the console by clicking on the animated button. This will take us to the build log. In this case, Maven is used to execute or build our Spring project. Just remember that there are different ways to access the project and its configuration. We can directly go to dashboard and manage our projects directly from there. We can go into project landing page and access other artifacts like the build itself, and we can configure the project or the job from within the landing page. Now we see that with build periodically trigger, Jenkins will execute Maven build automatically without checking whether there is a change or not. If you want to trigger the build manually, you can also trigger it using build now option. This is available from the landing page as well as from the dashboard. As soon as you click build now, the job will be triggered immediately. Notice that the drop down button appears only when you mouse over in the dashboard page. Now let us configure poll SCM. What this does is it polls the connected source code management for any change. This polling happens based on the time interval provided, and this job will be executed only if there is a change. Let us make some changes to our project code. Once these changes are made, we have to remember that the change needs to be committed and propagated to the repository to which Jenkins is connected. In this case, Jenkins is connected to the remote repository. So once these changes are made, I will have to commit and push the changes to remote repository. I'll use the standard commit dialog box. And I will use commit and push button to commit the changes to local repository as well as push the changes to remote master. Notice that even after commit, we will have to wait until the poll happens, and as soon as Jenkins polls based on the time interval, it will verify whether there is a change happened or not, and if there is a change happened, then it will start executing the configured job. This completes automatic build cycle.